So we've got another week until the big Steven Universe episode, and I figured I'd fill the time with something I was really into when I was younger, and I've just started getting back into because, as odd as it may sound, my job has gotten me an opportunity to get back into it. Take this however you want, and that is string figures. Yeah, thousands of years ago, when there was no TV and people had way too much time on their hands, people just passed the time by figuring out pictures they could make with just a loop of string. And this is one that I particularly love because there's no knot in it. I don't know how well you can see that, but the ends are actually melted together. You can buy these. I found them on Amazon, like along with this big cardboard book about a few beginning figures if you want to get into it. But for now, I'll just demonstrate a few that I've had memorized over the years. If you know anything about this at all, you know that one of the simplest figures you can do is typically called the cup and saucer. But how many of you know that originally, thousands of years ago, when the Polynesians came up with it, it was called the outrigger canoe? Like, that's the kind of thing you can learn when you're as obsessed with this stuff as I am. There's another beginning figure that's typically called the witch's broom, but it was originally a fishing spear. And that's as far as many things go down through the ages. You get new names, and they keep being introduced to new generations, and it's great if you care about this as much as I do. Now, there's another figure that you may be aware of. It's called Jacob's Ladder because it hits that perfect sweet spot between being pretty easy to memorize, but still complicated enough that it's still impressive to see someone do it. But one question for you: have you ever seen someone do it without looking? Because now you have. Yeah, I love this one. Just look at it. It's like perfectly symmetrical, looks so neat when it's done, and neat to watch someone do it. It's got everything, really. Trouble is, it gets a little complicated to take apart, but with the good string like this, that's not much of a problem because it just slides right off of pretty much anything. And there's another few more complicated ones. There's this one, which is called the parachute. Starts out with just one hand. There you go. And if you take the hand out, you get the bunch of keys. And it has a bit of a companion figure, if I can get this started right. And it is the Hogan or the bunch of bananas. Completely different styles, but they look pretty well coming out, and they make good companion pieces. Another good thing starting out with one hand is called the Flying Parrot, even though it doesn't look like much. Well, it seems that how to do that one has slipped my mind a bit. I just did the Hogan again there, but sorry about that. I'm not starting over now, so you can take this however you want. But there is one pretty neat one. It's called the Winking Eye, and really not much of like the typical weaving going on, but you end up with this neat little thing, the Winking Eye. So, and one that's kind of a unusual opening here. It's typically called little fishes because it's supposed to look like sardines. If I kind of screwed that up, let me start over. But I prefer to call it just the W, and you'll see why in a second. There you go. And great thing about this one is it was this particular favorite of people who were experts at this stuff back when those could draw a crowd, because you can start out with making just one different move, and if you were been paying attention, you saw it already, and when you finish it, it looks like I messed up, doesn't it? Except, there you go. And just again, one of those things you can figure out if you can be as obsessed about it. The neat thing is this is all muscle memory at this point, basically. I just have to remember the first couple moves, and then my instincts take over. There's this one, it's called the Twitcher. It's kind of a puppet, and a bit more of a simpler one for you, but it's one that I like. It gets a reaction every time from people I show it to. There's the most complicated one of all that everyone loves to watch, and that is Single Cat's Cradle. You probably know Cat's Cradle is a game for two people. You may know the figures involved, but if you don't, do yourself a favor, look them up. Like, just find a video of someone playing the game with two people, because it is pretty neat how you can actually make all the same figures by yourself. So not all of them look exactly the same. Like, this is the cradle, it's simplified. The real thing has the strings going behind their backs, but most of them look pretty good. Soldier's bed, candles, diamonds, which is the same as soldier's bed really, but that's what they call it. Cat's eye, the manger. Well, so that is the snare drum, I guess. I think that's what it's called. I forget some of these. There's the manger. And then it goes all the way back to the cradle again. So that's just one that's very nice to show off. If you can memorize it, it is a lot of fun. But then there's also, let me just close it off right now with my favorite of them all. Well, actually, there is one more that just came into my mind. I can do it pretty quick before I get to the grand finale of my favorite one. This is one that's called The Well. It can be shallow or deep. And then if you so that's that one. And if you can just indulge me for just 1 minute, this is my personal favorite figure, and it's called the Apache Door. A little bit more complicated than most, and you have to do that to make it really look right. There, the Apache Door. And this string is actually still a bit too short to properly show it, but you get the idea. It's a bunch of little diamonds in there, and it like loops over the end, so it all looks really great. Even with as long as this string is, you need one still longer to really get the full effect. But this is what I got, so this is what you get. So that's it for now. That's just something that I really like. I think it's neat to just show to people, watch them and be surprised at all you can do. And there are many more that I actually have in books right now. I don't have them memorized at the moment, but maybe if this goes over well enough, people can see them, and I'll be motivated to try to memorize them, make another video or two and show them off here. But until then, I'll see you all next time, and I hope this wasn't too boring for anyone. I think it's fun, but you be the judge, and I'll see you all next time.